The glittering world of professional sports and high finance often masks darker truths about human nature, about how trust can be so easily broken, fortunes can disappear overnight, and lives can be irrevocably damaged by those closest to them. This in-depth examination reveals the disturbing realities behind three of the most brazen financial crimes in recent sports history, each exposing the devastating consequences of greed, deception, and misplaced trust. Peggy Fulford, the ultimate con artist who preyed on sports superstars. Peggy Fulford's story reads like something from a Hollywood thriller, a master manipulator who infiltrated the inner circles of some of sports' biggest names. With her impeccable designer wardrobe, flawless makeup, and carefully cultivated air of sophistication, Fulford presented herself as the answer to every professional athlete's financial nightmares. Claiming Harvard-educated financial expertise and Wall Street success, she positioned herself as the protective financial mother that young, wealthy athletes desperately needed. Her methods were chillingly effective. Fulford would first identify vulnerable targets, often young black athletes who came from disadvantaged backgrounds and suddenly found themselves with multi-million-dollar contracts. She would then employ a carefully crafted persona, sometimes even using aliases like Raquel in social settings to maintain an air of mystery. Her approach was textbook psychological manipulation, lavish gifts, emotional support, and promises of lifelong financial security. The case of Dennis Rodman is particularly heartbreaking. Fulford ingratiated herself so thoroughly into the NBA star's life that he singled her out for thanks during his emotional 2011 Basketball Hall of Fame induction speech. At the time, no one could have imagined that this woman Rodman kissed on the cheek would later be accused of stealing what his lawyer called a ton of money from him. Similarly, NFL star Ricky Williams and his family fell completely under Fulford's spell, with Williams' then-wife Christian considering Fulford her best friend and even relying on her for childcare. But behind the scenes, Fulford was systematically draining their accounts. Court documents would later reveal she used multiple aliases, including the last names of her 5 ex-husbands, and fabricated financial credentials to gain control over her victims' fortunes. By the time the truth emerged, Fulford had allegedly stolen millions from Rodman, Williams, and other high-profile clients. The woman who had positioned herself as their protector turned out to be their greatest financial predator, William Boots Del Biaggio, the Silicon Valley fraudster who faked his way into the NHL. The story of William Boots Del Biaggio III represents a different kind of sports-related fraud, one driven not just by greed but by an insatiable hunger for status and recognition. In the exclusive world of professional hockey, Del Biaggio's rise and fall is a textbook case of how ambition, when untethered from ethics, can lead to spectacular self-destruction. Del Biaggio's early career showed genuine promise. The son of a respected San Jose banking family, he co-founded Heritage Bank of Commerce in 1994 at just 25 years old. His subsequent venture capital firm, Sand Hill Capital, rode the dot-com boom to impressive returns. By his early 30s, Del Biaggio had developed a reputation as a financial wunderkind and began cultivating the trappings of success: luxury homes, expensive cars, and private jet travel. But it was his 2002 purchase of a minority stake in the San Jose Sharks that revealed Del Biaggio's true obsession: becoming a sports mogul. Hockey insiders describe how Del Biaggio became intoxicated by the prestige of NHL ownership, constantly angling for more recognition and influence within league circles. His behavior grew increasingly erratic as he pursued his dream of becoming a majority owner, culminating in his 2007 attempt to buy the Nashville Predators. The truth, as federal investigators would discover, was far more sinister. Del Biaggio had been running an elaborate Ponzi scheme, using forged documents to secure $110 million in fraudulent loans. He even stooped to stealing the identity of a childhood friend to falsify collateral. The money funded his lavish lifestyle and sports ambitions while leaving dozens of investors, many of them middle-class retirees, financially devastated. Ron Wills, one of Del Biaggio's victims, typifies the human cost. A salesman who invested $215,000 of his life savings based on Del Biaggio's promises of steady returns, Wills later described the betrayal as like getting punched in the gut. For Del Biaggio, the consequences were equally severe: an 8-year prison sentence and permanent exile from the hockey world he so desperately wanted to dominate. Rumeal Robinson, From NCAA hero to financial ruin. Perhaps no story in this episode is more tragic than that of Rumeal Robinson, whose life arc took him from homeless child to NCAA champion to convicted felon. Robinson's tale serves as a sobering reminder of how quickly fortune can fade when combined with poor judgment and unchecked appetites. Robinson's early life reads like something from a Dickens novel. Born in Jamaica, he was sent to live with his mother in Cambridge, Massachusetts at age 10, only to be abandoned and left to fend for himself. His salvation came in the form of Helen and Lou Ford, a compassionate couple who took him in and eventually adopted him. The Fords provided stability and love, allowing Robinson's extraordinary basketball talent to flourish. At the University of Michigan, Robinson became a legend. His clutch free throws in the 1989 NCAA championship game secured the Wolverines' first ever national title, cementing his place in college basketball history. Drafted 10th overall by the Atlanta Hawks, Robinson seemed destined for NBA stardom and financial security. But behind the scenes, trouble was brewing. Teammates and friends recall Robinson developing extravagant spending habits almost immediately after turning pro. Strip clubs, luxury cars, and high-stakes gambling became obsessions. By the time his NBA career ended in 1997, Robinson had burned through millions and was desperate for cash. What happened next was unthinkable. Court records show Robinson convinced his elderly adoptive mother, Helen, to take out a $71,000 home equity loan, promising to make the payments himself. When he defaulted, 72-year-old Helen was served with an eviction notice, suddenly facing homelessness because of the son she had rescued from the streets decades earlier. Robinson's financial crimes didn't stop there. He would eventually be convicted of bank fraud and conspiracy related to a separate $1.2 million loan scam. The man who once hit the most famous free throws in Michigan basketball history was sentenced to 6.5 years in federal prison. A stunning fall from grace that left his adoptive family heartbroken and betrayed. The aftermath. Where are they now? Peggy Fulford was released from federal prison in 2021 after serving nearly 8 years of her 10-year sentence. Now, in her late 50s, she maintains her innocence despite overwhelming evidence. William Del Biaggio completed his prison term in 2015 and has largely disappeared from public view. The NHL has permanently barred him from any ownership role. Rumeal Robinson was released from prison in 2016. Now in his 50s, he has reportedly attempted to reconcile with his adoptive family, though the emotional scars remain. These stories serve as powerful reminders that no amount of talent, wealth, or fame can inoculate against poor judgment and ethical compromise. They reveal the devastating human costs of financial fraud, not just in dollars lost, but in broken trust and shattered lives. Perhaps most tragically, each of these cases represents a profound betrayal of the American dream itself. Whether it's the immigrant child turned sports hero, the self-made financial whiz kid, or the woman who overcame humble beginnings, all ultimately chose deception over integrity, leaving behind trails of destruction. As we reflect on these cautionary tales, we're reminded that true success isn't measured in bank balances or social status, but in the lives we build and the trust we honor. In the end, the house always wins, and greed always loses. If you found these stories compelling, wait until you see what we uncover next, with exclusive interviews and never-before-seen details. Hit subscribe now to get latest updates.